Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Living Well with Dr. Thanuki. And today I thought I'd discuss about prenatal and postpartum exercise and nutrition, because we have received many inquiries as to if it's safe to work out during your pregnancy and when you should resume exercising after you deliver a baby, and about nutrition. So we will be focusing on these topics, and hopefully they'll answer most of your questions. First of all, I would like to answer the question as to why you should exercise during your pregnancy. It is because regular exercise during your pregnancy has many benefits, including the fact that it decreases the risk of having conditions like preeclampsia, which I'll talk about in a bit, gestational diabetes mellitus, low back pain, having the chance of going through a cesarean section which has complications, and also side effects like leg cramps, insomnia, nausea, anxiety, and also controls excessive weight gain during pregnancy. So overall, exercise helps control and to have a healthy pregnancy and healthy postpartum lifestyle as well. So research has found that the mothers who were exercising during their pregnancy gained less weight during their pregnancy, deposited less fat in their bodies, and their fitness levels were up, and their cardiovascular risk profile was decreased compared to those who stopped exercising during the pregnancy. Even though regular exercise is really good during your pregnancy, there are some special considerations we must pay attention to in special cases like gestational diabetes mellitus, preeclampsia, and maternal obesity. And our exercise program has to be devised in a way by taking necessary steps to ensure the mother's safety in these conditions. So when talking about gestational diabetes mellitus, that is a condition that is diagnosed or recognized during pregnancy, and is usually it resolves after the delivery of the baby. And this usually happens because of increased maternal insulin resistance, and that is because there is an increased glucose regulation is required for the growing fetus, and there is increased maternal insulin resistance. And increased insulin resistance means increased glucose levels, so hyperglycemia. In mothers with gestational diabetes mellitus, they cannot produce their increased insulin to counteract this the resistance effect. And by about the third trimester, you need up to 2 to 4 times more increased insulin secretion to maintain normal glucose levels. And the prevalence of this condition is about 7 to 10% worldwide, depending on the ethnicity, and it's a common problem. The predisposing factors for gestational diabetes mellitus include having maternal obesity, or family history of type 2 diabetes mellitus, or being pregnant at an older age. And this puts you at high risk of getting maternal hypertension or preeclampsia, and a higher risk of having a cesarean section. Also, this increases your likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes mellitus at a later point of life by 7 times more. Medical nutrition therapy and a moderate intensity exercise program can be used as a part of gestational diabetes mellitus treatment or GDM treatment if there are no contraindications. If you engage in exercise during pregnancy, it would decrease your chance of getting it, and especially before within the first 20 weeks of the pregnancy. And also those who engage in intense physical activity before the pregnancy have a decreased risk in developing GDM. Preeclampsia is another condition that could complicate a pregnancy and is usually diagnosed after 20 weeks of being pregnant, and it's characterized by persistent hypertension or high blood pressure of more than 140/90 and proteinuria, as in urine in the protein. And the risk factors for developing this includes being obese or overweight, previous history of it, and then being a first-time mother or primiparity, multiple pregnancies, and history of having diabetes or renal disease. So the complications of preeclampsia include premature delivery or fetal growth retardation or even death. So these kind of patients need, if they have to exercise, they need to be done under physician or supervision or in a clinical setting. And usually the treatment is delivery, and for the hypertension, you could treat the hypertension. Unless it's treated, there could be complications for the mother, cardiovascularly, cerebrovascularly, and renally. Therefore, I would like to highlight the importance of exercise in preventing preeclampsia, as it improves the placental growth and its vascularity, and then decreases the systemic inflammatory response, and improves the antioxidant defense system. The other condition that we have to be cautious of is maternal obesity, because it puts you at risk for many complications, including, which I already mentioned about, gestational diabetes mellitus, hypertensive disease like preeclampsia, and the chance of having a cesarean section or C-section, and preterm delivery, having being a macrosomic baby or having large birth weight, shoulder dystocia of the baby, as in like the anterior shoulder gets stuck in the birth canal during the delivery, and also you are at risk for stillbirth weight induction and many other complications because of being obese, and you will need physician clearance before participating in an exercise program at times. Excessive weight gain during pregnancy is a predictor of long-term obesity, which is a precursor for many illnesses. And the recommended amount for a person in a normal BMI range to gain weight during pregnancy is about 25 to 35 pounds. And for an overweight or an obese person, it should be 15 to 25 pounds. So if you gain anything below this, you are at risk of having low birth weight of the baby. And anything above the normal range, it's at a high risk of developing macrosomia, or a large birth weight for the baby, and at risk of causing damage to the fetus during delivery, high chance of having a C-section, and which has complications, and high chance of damaging the birth canal as well. It is important to understand that pregnancy is not a time to lose weight, and a certain amount of weight gain is necessary for the development of the fetus. Aquatic exercise is recommended for pregnant mothers because hydrostatic pressure, when you immerse yourself in water, decreases the maternal edema and the blood pressure, while maintaining the uterine and placental blood flow. Prolonged periods of exercise can redistribute your blood flow, and then take the blood away from, and the nutrients and oxygen away from the growing fetus, and circulate it around your body, and then this could lead to hypoxia, and then all in all leading to increased heart rate of the fetus. So moderate intensity exercise is usually recommended, and at a given duration that you can tolerate, and physician clearance or PARMED X form usually needs to be filled out, and clearance is usually needed before you begin an exercise program. Third trimester is the time that you have to be very careful especially because you are at high risk of falling and there's risk of abdominal trauma. So you must minimize like contact sports and physical activities that put you at a risk for that. Absolute contraindications for exercising during pregnancy include having heart disease or restrictive lung disease, having an incomplete cervix or a cerclage, and having multiple gestations at risk for developing preterm labor, or if you're having a preterm rupture of membranes, bleeding in the second or third trimester that is persistent, and also pregnancy-induced hypertension or preeclampsia, and and conditions like placenta previa that is happening after 26 weeks all increase the likelihood of you having an absolute contraindication for exercising. The relative contraindications to exercise include having morbid obesity or being extremely underweight, and previous history of having intrauterine growth retardation, severe anemia, and also uncontrolled hypertension, seizures, or hypothyroidism. So the signs to stop exercising during pregnancy include if you have any sort of vaginal bleeding, if you have chest pain, headache, dizziness, shortness of breath, and any kind of discomfort, especially like half pain and with swelling, which indicates thrombophlebitis, all are reasons for you to stop exercising. And if you feel like water breaking or the amniotic fluid leaking, or any kind of fetal movement decreasing, they are all signs why you should stop exercising immediately. Second trimester is usually a good time to exercise and stay fit because it's low risk, and we recommend everyone to start working out maybe as low as 15 minutes and go up to about 30 minutes, and then start like doing it 3 times a week and go up to about 4 times a week. And the RPE range, or the ratings per exertion, we recommend 12 to 14, and that should be somewhat hard category. For safety reasons, we recommend individuals to avoid exercising in warm and humid conditions, especially during the first trimester, and to avoid lying on your back or supine position after 4 months of pregnancy, and also to hydrate before and after exercise during pregnancy, and to minimize the risk of participating in activities that would increase the chance of falling or trauma to the abdomen. So the body goes through a lot of changes to accommodate the pregnancy and the delivery. There's change to your cardiovascular system, respiratory system, and the musculoskeletal system. As per the musculoskeletal system, there is ligament laxity. Because of this, your joints and everything, you're more prone to have more injury. You must stretch and then avoid rapid changes in directions and bouncing movements, and be very cautious. And avoid the Valsalva Manu, or holding your breath in isometric contractions. That is strongly discouraged. And also when lying down, it's not recommended after 4 months in supine position. If you're getting up from position, we recommend to lie down on the side and get up, and avoid sudden changes in direction. Because there's increased cardiac output, you do not want to stress your heart because of sudden body positions, and because of this increased cardiac output. All this, and then you must again hydrate well before and after exercise, because prolonged exercise can put you at risk for dehydration. There's also a condition called diastasis recti that is happening because of the ripping of the connective tissue in the midline. This is because of this, we encourage people to avoid abdominal exercise during pregnancy period, and this can cause separation of the connective tissue in the midline. and also because of the enlargement of the breast, there's forward shift, and then there's posture changes, so they all must be corrected and supervised properly during exercise. Pregnant mothers need 300 calories additionally compared to normal woman, and then we recommend them to discuss it with a nutritionist or a specialist in that field or a physician when preparing their exercise and diet plan to adjust their caloric requirement accordingly. And also, you don't have to restrict sodium, you can limit your caffeine intake. Hypothermia of more than 39 Celsius is teratogenic. So conditions that predispose you to this, like using the hot tub or the sauna, jacuzzis, should be avoided in the first 45 to 60 days of pregnancy, because this can cause neural tube defects. However, exercise-induced hypothermia is not known to cause any fetal malformations. The exercise recommendation remains the same for non-pregnant and pregnant women, 150 minutes per week. So minimum 30 minutes per day to 1 hour you can exercise. And for those who are physically active before pregnancy, they could continue it into their pregnancy. But those who are not physically active before pregnancy, a vigorous exercise program is not recommended to begin with in pregnancy. And you can start with low intensity and gradually increase it. You start strength training with low intensity, and then maybe increase the number of reps progressively. For those who have a BMI of less than 25, it is recommended to go with moderate intensity exercise. But if the BMI is more than 25, light intensity is recommended. If you were sedentary before pregnancy, it's good to start with 15 minutes per day, 3 times a week, and go up to about 30 minutes per day, 4 times a week. And these are the heart rate zones that you have to target to be within when you are performing exercises according to your age. A lot of people ask me this question, if they can exercise during breastfeeding or what kind of food they need to eat. So yes, you can exercise and it doesn't change the composition or the quality of the milk you produce, as long as you adjust your caloric requirement, which is about 500 calories extra if you are breastfeeding. You can exercise safely. Low back pain is a common complaint during pregnancy because of the postural changes, and it's recommended to do aquatic exercises or to use hydrostatic pressure properties of the water to relieve the pain and to relax the muscles, and this improves the symptoms caused during this pregnancy. For low back pain that persists after your delivery, there are certain exercises that you can do, and we have done a video on low back pain, and you can basically stretch and strengthen your core areas and your glutes and the necessary muscles, and we can show you some exercises in which you can do to improve this condition. Pubic pain is also another complaint, and it's usually because you have the pubic symphysis, which is about 0.5 millimeters in width, increasing up to 12 millimeters during delivery, and this can be like a partial symphyseal separation to complete dislocation, and it usually is treated with non-weight bearing, physician evaluation, physiotherapy, or using belts. Carpal tunnel syndrome is another outcome that pregnant patients develop because of increased fluid retention, and this is because the median nerve is compressed while it's passing through the tunnel, and then This causes numbness and paresthesia of the thumb and the first 3.5 fingers, and this is usually treated with analgesics, splinting, and avoiding active flexion extension of the wrist, and corticosteroid injections. So again, diastasis recti, I would like to talk about it. It is a condition where the rectus abdominis muscle is separated partially or completely on the left and the right side, and then this usually happens with multiple pregnancies because the muscles are stretched so many times like it becomes elongated. And if it's more than 2 fingers, it's considered excessive. With like up to 2 centimeters, it is normal. And we recommend individuals to do exercises in semi-recumbent position for abdominal compression, and exercises like curl-ups for this. Stress urinary incontinence is a common complaint in those who have had deliveries, and this is common among those who have had multiple gestations, had vaginal delivery, and who have had large babies, and ones who had large cranial circumference or large heads, and where there has been tearing of the perineum. And this is because during pregnancy the pelvic floor muscles weaken, and you must strengthen them. The only way to do this is strengthen them with Kegel exercises. Now we will talk about pregnancy and nutrition. So during pregnancy, you are recommended to eat small frequent meals, 3 to 5 meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe 2 snacks, and then not to fast for more than 13 hours. You should eat a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and fiber, and whole grains, and drink plenty of fluid. And you shouldn't, because if you fast for more than 13 hours and you put yourself in like a state of ketosis, this could predispose you to having a preterm labor, and it's not good for the infant. The caloric requirement increases in the second trimester up to 300 calories per day, and in the third trimester to 450 calories per day. As per the vitamin and mineral requirements, it's important to stress that folic acid is quite important to prevent neural tube defects. So it's recommended to have about 600 micrograms of folic acid per day prior to conception even, and up to about 6 weeks during pregnancy. And this is important to prevent neural tube defects in the fetus. And as per iron deficiency anemia is a common complaint, and then you could prevent this by taking about 30 milligrams of iron per day. As you may already know, having alcohol and tobacco are contraindicated during pregnancy. Has so many outcomes, even sudden death of the fetus, intrauterine growth retardation, and so many complications. So it's strictly prohibited to, we don't recommend anyone to consume alcohol or smoke during their pregnancy, and even caffeine intake we recommend to minimize and limit. These are the normal pregnant and for lactating women that we recommend to consume your carbohydrates, fiber, and protein in this manner, the minimum requirement. It is recommended to consume less than 200 milligrams of caffeine per day, drink more than 2.3 liters of water per day, hydrate yourself well, and then to handle your food safely, because you are predisposed to foodborne illnesses and you want to stay as healthy as you can during your pregnancy. Consume a lot of fish and seafood, at least 8 ounces per week, because it promotes visual and cognitive development in your fetus. And certain types of fish like swordfish, mackerel, you have to be careful because of the mercury content, and then have to minimize them. As per breastfeeding ladies, you have to consume more than 500 calories compared to a normal person to keep up with the requirement, because you are feeding another human. So it's better to get if you want to lose weight during this time, it is possible to exercise, but it's good to get a professional's advice and a professional plan in this period. Postpartum depression is a common issue that a lot of mothers face after the delivery, and this condition can be improved with exercise. So we recommend everyone to exercise at least 30 minutes a day, at least 5 times a week. And a common question we are asked is, when should you begin exercising and losing weight after you deliver a baby? So the answer to that is depending on the kind of delivery you had. If you had a vaginal delivery, you can resume exercising and your weight loss journey 4 to 6 weeks after the delivery. And if you had a cesarean section or C-section, 8 to 10 weeks after the delivery if you've had no complications. We recommend lactating mothers to begin exercising gradually and increase the intensity progressively, and it is recommended to do core strengthening and stabilization, and to continue pelvic floor strengthening with the Kegel exercises as mentioned before. And you must also focus on avoiding any uncomfortable situations. If you have painfully engorged breasts, it's better to avoid exercising until you have pumped and you've done breastfeeding and you pumped it. And also if you have breast abscess, it's recommended to avoid until your condition is improved. So that was us trying to cover pregnancy and postpartum exercise and nutrition in a nutshell in a very limited time. So if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to contact us and ask us, or drop us a message. You could, we would appreciate if you could like and share, and then our social media platforms and our pages. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon for any notifications. And we would like to remind you that we have started a nutrition coaching program for postpartum ladies who want to get back to their pre-pregnancy weight with medical guidance. We do that here at Bodydoc. We have an online coaching program and an in-person one here at Bodydoc Clinic. So if you're interested in that program, please do contact us, and we are more than happy to guide you in your weight loss journey. And I hope to be back next week with another interesting topic. Till then, hope you all stay safe and healthy. Thank you.